Amber, stop. Is tugging on her sleeve as she teetered in her stilettos, phone held high above her head. We were huddled in the corner of the Blue Orchid, the seedy downtown karaoke dive, where the neon lights oscillated between acid green and fuchsia, and the smell of spilled beer mingled with stale smoke. My palms were slick against the glossy faux wood railing, my throat tight with anticipation and dread. It was my night, finally. After 3 years of weekly open mics at open mic nights, 6 months of private vocal lessons, and a summer's worth of demo recordings sent to every indie producer in the city, I'd booked the coveted 9:15 featured performer slot at karaoke. A 3-minute chance to prove I deserved more than tips and exclamations of "who's gonna sing after her?" Amber, my best friend since sophomore year, had promised moral support. Instead, she'd become my worst nightmare. Moments earlier, the host, a rotund man in a wilted tuxedo, had announced my turn. The bar fell silent as I stepped to the stage, the spotlight cutting through the haze like a surgeon's scalpel. I cleared my throat, adjusted the mic stand, and pressed play on the backing track. It was a stripped-down pop ballad I'd written, titled City Lights, its first single from my upcoming EP. This was it, the moment I'd hoped would launch my fragile career. The first line slipped out steady, under the neon of this restless town. My voice soared over the opening chords. I felt the familiar rush, the only time I truly knew who I was, until Amber started laughing. It was a high, mocking cackle, ear-splitting in the hush. Heads turned. The host cleared his throat. I faltered, skipping a line. Amber whipped out her phone, the screen glowing. She giggled behind her hand, rattling her phone so hard I heard the real icon appear. "She's tone deaf." "Tone deaf," she whispered to her friend, mouth glinting with malice. My face burned hotter than the spotlight. I pried my grip from the railing and marched mid-song to her table, snatching her phone. "What the hell, Amber?" I hissed, wiping off her smirk with a furious swipe. But the damage was done. Her laughter echoed in my ears, and the bar's buzzer jingled, signaling the end of my time. I cut in halfway through the chorus, my chorus. The host babbled an apology. I mumbled a thank you, and fled the stage, my humiliation trailing behind me like a dirty dress. Backstage, I sank onto the scuffed vinyl bench, fingers curled into the fabric, knuckles white. My dreams of discovery, of that one private recording session leading to a broader audience, they felt like shards in my gut. Amber's laughter had fractured everything. 2 weeks later, I released City Lights on streaming platforms. The indie producer in New York had agreed to a trial session, impressed by my raw demos, and I'd poured every ounce of hope into that EP. My digital download count ticked upwards slowly, dozens, then hundreds, and I felt a cautious spark. But nothing could extinguish the memory of that karaoke humiliation. One Thursday evening, my phone buzzed, a push notification from Instagram. I unlocked it and froze. Amber had posted a reel. The square cut showed her in a chic sweatshirt, her hair tied in a carefree bun, dancing wildly under that very same neon karaoke sign. The Blue Orchid. Over the footage, her voiceover squealed, "When your bestie drops her debut single." Then she danced up and down, lip-syncing my chorus. Under the neon of this restless town, the reel glowed with emojis. Fire, heart eyes, clapping hands. The caption read, "My girl at a very sings put out her first single. #City Lights is. Go stream her now. #proud bestie. #support local music." My stomach dropped. For an instant, I couldn't remember what emotion came next. Relief? Horror? Anger? Amazement that she'd shared it. Promoted it. I tapped her profile and found dozens of comments. "Wait, she can sing. She's amazing. I loved her karaoke song. Full and stream now." Amber had mocked me, recorded my ruin, then used that same song as her own dance party anthem. She dragged my embarrassment into the open, and then spun it into a celebration. It was genius? Insensitive? I rewatched the reel, noting the transition from the deflated crowd at my karaoke to Amber's triumphant shimmy. Her grin was infectious. I stared at the screen, mind spinning. The indie producer had messaged that morning. "Your track has organic engagement, looks viral." Now Amber's reel was driving plays. My chorus was echoing across Instagram. People were streaming, sharing, grinning along to my words. The song I'd nearly died on stage for, I was suddenly everywhere. I texted Amber, "Nice reel." Her reply pinged fast. "Haha, thanks. Sorry about karaoke that night. Didn't know you'd go and release it." I stared at the words. I composed a reply, "It's actually driving a lot of streams," and sent. The next day at work, by day, I was a temp administrative assistant at a market research firm. I refreshed Spotify. City Lights had jumped into the top 100 viral in our city, 25,000 streams in 24 hours. Comments on my Instagram were alight. Love your voice. First heard you on that reel, instant addict. You deserve this. My chest felt full buoyant. Amber's reel had turned my worst moment into a springboard. That evening, I called Marcus. You will not believe what just happened. I gushed. He laughed, ecstatic. Your chorus is on repeat in 3 countries. We hatched a plan to ride the momentum, a live Instagram Q&A, a midnight release party on Zoom, a lyric video launch. Amber dove in, excited to help. My resentment melted under the warmth of this new chapter. Still, I braced for backlash. Fans who'd seen my karaoke flop might laugh. But the comments were all positive. They saw my vulnerability, my interrupted karaoke, and found authenticity. The song's line, "Under the neon of this restless town," took on new nuance. They felt my raw edge. 2 weeks later, Ridgeline Media, formerly the karaoke bar's parent company, reached out. We saw your Instagram analytics, the PR manager said. We'd love to feature your story from open mic disaster to breakout single. Would you do an interview? My heart thudded. PR coverage, yes. On to podcasts, local radio. Doors I'd thought closed swung open. Back at the Blue Orchid, I arranged for a live performance on the spot. This time, no resentment, just purpose. I stepped on stage, heart racing, not with fear but anticipation. Amber filmed from the front row. The crowd this time cheered, not condescending laughter but honest applause. I sang City Lights entirely, no skips, no stumbles, every note proud. Afterwards, a girl approached, shy. I saw your single first on at Amber Dance's reel, she said. I thought it was a joke, but then I realized, your voice is amazing. She pressed a crumpled dollar bill into my hand. For more music, I accepted it with a shaky smile and hugged her. The air backstage at Studio 7 was thick with the hum of equipment and the tang of hot coffee. I clutched my phone, now glowing with podcast sponsor invoices, in one hand and a fresh cup in the other. The host's producer waved me forward. You're up in 2. I smoothed my dress, a thrifted slip that now felt like armor. This was my first live podcast taping, part of an interview series exploring moments of pivot in creative careers. When my single City Lights had broken through because of Amber's reel, I'd vowed to lean into every opportunity. This was one of them. The host, Sophia Tran, greeted me with a warm hug and a camera-ready grin. Welcome, Avery. Your story's been an inspiration. I sat on a plush armchair, under soft key lights, the mic angled just so. The podcast logo, shimmering cityscape with neon accents, glowed on the screen behind us. Sophia's voice, smooth and energetic, began. Avery, tell us how a karaoke flop turned into your breakout single. I leaned in, heart steady. It started as a raw, impromptu performance that went sideways, I said. Amber's laughter, harsh as it was, led her to create that dance reel. It captured a moment of honesty. Suddenly my song wasn't polished. It was real. People resonated. A clip of Amber's reel played her bold shimmy under the City Lights sign, her caption, #proud bestie. The audience chuckled, leaning forward. This, I continued, was the pivot. The flop humanized me. It showed vulnerability, and in art, vulnerability is magnetic. Sophia nodded. So you reclaimed it. I smiled. Yes, I could have locked myself away. Instead, I doubled down, performed live, engaged with fans, and said thank you to every listener. The room erupted in applause. Sophia leaned closer. What's next for you? I traced the rim of my coffee cup. I'm releasing an acoustic EP in 2 weeks, covers of songs that influenced me, plus 2 new originals. And I'm launching a Patreon for behind-the-scenes content, songwriting sessions, studio walkthroughs, vocal tips. I want to turn that fleeting viral moment into a sustainable career. Later, as the crew struck the set, Marcus appeared at the studio door, grinning ear to ear. He grabbed me in a hug. You killed it, he said. I laughed, breathless. Feels good. He offered his arm. Coffee after? I nodded. And talked tour dates. Outside, the night air was cool, punctuated by honking cabs. We slipped into a tiny 24-hour cafe down the block, its neon sign buzzing drowsily. Marcus ordered us chai lattes with oat milk. We settled into a vinyl booth. So, he said, stirring his foam, podcast tour, radio interviews, local shows. When do we do the East Coast mini run? My pulse quickened. I've got 5 dates lined up: Philadelphia, Boston, DC, New York, Baltimore. I spread my phone's calendar across the table. We could start in 3 weeks. He tapped the Boston date. I'll be on the road with you. He looked up, eyes earnest. And I've booked us a sound engineer, my colleague Chloe. She's brilliant. My heart fluttered. Chloe had mixed my single at her home studio. She was sharp, intuitive, with magenta streaks in her hair. I'd always admired her professionally, maybe more. Sounds perfect, I said, voice soft. He smiled. Karaoke flopped to coast shows. You've come a long way. Booker O'Reilly's in Philadelphia was a cramped bar-cum venue, velvet curtains, and exposed brick. I tuned my guitar on stage, checking levels through Chloe's earpiece. She crouched at the soundboard, thumbs flying across faders. We good? She whispered. I nodded, struck the D chord. The crowd swayed as I launched into city lights, all eyes on me. But when I sang the reclaimed chorus, under the neon of this restless town, their voices joined mine. I nearly faltered at the swell of harmony. After, the room exploded in cheers. I exhaled, tears slipping unchecked. Backstage, Chloe kissed my cheek. You own this, she said. Time for the next song. I smiled, heart full. After the set, we sat on a stoop outside the venue, city lights flickering. Carolina bluish-green maple leaves drifted down. Chloe handed me a cold cider. You were incredible. I leaned back, couldn't have done it without your mixing magic. She brushed my hair behind my ear. We work well together. Her eyes caught mine, sparkling. Do you want to keep working together? I laughed softly. Forever. She slipped her hand into mine. Good. That night, after merch sales and selfies, I collapsed in my hotel bed, phone pinging with fan messages. You rock, best live show ever. You've inspired me to pick up singing again. I pressed my hand to my chest, mind racing, not with imposter fears, but possibility. I'd built a home for my art on the karaoke stage, and now it carried me coast to coast. In Boston's Weldon Theater, I joined a panel on creative resilience, artists telling stories of turning setbacks into strengths. I sat beside a comedian, a dancer, and a novelist. When my turn came, I recounted the karaoke night, Amber's reel, the surge of streams. The audience laughed at the absurdity, then leaned forward as I described reclaiming the narrative. If you let one moment define you, I concluded, you'll never see the next door open. They applauded, some wiping eyes. Afterward, a line of aspiring performers queued for selfies. One young woman, her guitar strapped on her back, asked, "Can you help me audition for open mics?" I hugged her. Absolutely. I'll send you tips. I exchanged numbers with 3 poets, 2 vocal coaches, and a songwriter looking for a producer. My viral moment had become a beacon. In New York, I played the Luna Lounge, its floor a mosaic of crescent moons. Chloe and I stayed in a tiny Brooklyn loft, floors creaking, skyline shimmering. Late nights, we co-wrote a duet, her verse, my chorus, about 2 voices finding harmony. We called it Reel to Reel, each line a nod to that first reel, midnight laughter, and the spark of collaboration. Ready for the recording session? Chloe asked next morning, bouncing on her toes. I adjusted my mic stand. Let's make magic. The studio, vintage Newman mics, consoles dripping with analog warmth, cradled our voices. As we laid down harmony tracks, my world felt complete. The setback that once left me broken now wrapped around me like an embrace, guiding me forward. Our final dates in DC and Baltimore were sold-out shows at small theaters. On stage in DC, I introduced Chloe. This is my sound wizard and duet partner. The crowd cheered. In Baltimore, I saw Amber in the front row, her phone recording, cheering wildly. After the set, I grabbed her hands. Thanks for everything. She blushed. You earned it. Under the lights of Camden Yards, I whispered, ready for one more song? She grinned. Always. 2 months later, I sat in a boardroom at Ridgeline. Yes, that same media group. Now as a guest speaker at their Creative Futures Incubator. Their marketing director, Delilah, quipped, "We saw how you turned a viral reel into a global tour. Teach us." I launched a mini masterclass on narrative reclamation, how to harness user-generated content as springboards, not setbacks. Executives leaned forward, enthralled by my first-hand tales. I concluded, your brand's real power lies in empowering those you least expect, turning mockery into momentum. When I left, the receptionist snapped a photo under their lobby's neon sign. Fuel your creativity. I tapped a post, reclaimed my platform, now fueling others. The likes rolled in. Back home, I moved into a small house with Chloe, pink wooden door, humming HVAC, yard wild with daisies. On the front wall, I painted a mural of a coffee cup morphing into neon notes, a nod to that karaoke dive. Underneath, we installed a tiny speaker that played city lights softly at dusk. Neighbors stopped to smile. One afternoon, my phone buzzed with an email from Ridgeline's Creative Academy. Join our advisory board to mentor emerging artists. I exhaled, eyes glistening. 3 years ago, I'd been told I wasn't right for their internship. Now they wanted my voice on their board. I looked at Chloe, mixing lemonade in the kitchen. She grinned. So? I walked over, kissed her forehead. Yes, that night, under string lights in our backyard studio, we hosted our first reel-to-reel workshop, local creatives offering karaoke performances, dance reels, and songwriting exercises. Amber performed an original dance she'd choreographed. The comedian from Boston cracked jokes about viral fame. The young guitarist from Seattle played a cover of City Lights, singing in her clear, hopeful tone. We closed with Chloe and me singing reel-to-reel, our voices interlaced. As I looked around at the glowing faces, community forged from a single reel of mockery, I realized the true arc of the story. A flop can be a doorway, a laugh can be the world's applause in disguise. It wasn't about perfection, it was about letting every note, off-key or soaring, be part of the song. And so, under our mural of neon melodies, we danced into the night, the speakers echoing our anthem. Under the starlight of this shared stage, we find our voices, and our stories are page by page. Part 2 ends here, but the chorus continues. In every karaoke dive, every viral reel, and every heart brave enough to reclaim its song.